Wait a minute or so while people continue to join. Appreciate everyone being here. Thanks everyone for joining. We're just giving a minute for the room to fill in. All right, I'll get started with introductions, and hopefully by the time I'm done with that, we'll be somewhere near full attendance. So, welcome everyone. Thanks so much for joining us in the middle of your Tuesday for an important discussion. I'm Seth Stern. I'm the Advocacy Director at Freedom of the Press Foundation. For those of you who might be unfamiliar with our organization, we are a nonprofit that protects, defends, and empowers public interest journalism. In addition to advocating in defense of the press and the public's right to know, we build secure communications tools and teach journalists how to keep themselves and their sources safe in the digital age. We also operate the U.S. Press Freedom Tracker that monitors and documents virtually every press freedom violation in the United States. And if you are inclined to support our work, please visit freedom.press/donate. Today, we are talking about ICE's targeting of pro-Palestine journalists. And although there are a number of cases we could use as examples of that very troubling trend, we're going to focus on two recent cases. Those of Sami Hamdi, a British journalist and commentator who was detained at San Francisco International Airport after his visa was revoked, and Yaqub Bihandre, a DACA recipient and community journalist who was recently arrested outside his Texas home after federal authorities accused him of glorifying terrorism over social media posts. We are also joined by Marium Uddin, legal director of the Muslim Legal Fund of America, who is among the attorneys representing both journalists. We're joined by Hassan Ahmad, managing attorney for the HMA Law Firm, who is representing Sami, by Chris Godshall-Bennett, civil rights attorney at Lee and Goodshall-Bennett, who is representing Yaqub, and Samantha Hamilton, civil rights attorney with Asian Americans Advancing Justice, Atlanta, and also legal counsel for the Atlanta Community Press Collective. And she is also representing Yaqub. And in addition to all those brilliant lawyers, we've got investigative journalist Sam Judy, who wrote a really moving piece for The Barbed Wire about his friend Yaqub and what the abduction means for free speech in the United States. And last but not least, we were honored to learn yesterday that Sami Hamdi himself and his wife Samoya are going to be joining us shortly. Oh, there's Sami now. Um, so Sami and Samoya, we're very thrilled to have you here. We were just getting to you in the intro when you joined, Sami. Um, we want our audience to be able to hear from you firsthand. It'll make the discussion that much more powerful. I didn't prepare a lot of questions for you because I didn't know you were going to be here, but feel free to jump in anytime you have something to add to the discussion. And I want to note that given how many people we have here and how important this topic is, I anticipate that it'll run over the 1 hour we have scheduled. If anyone needs to jump, either speakers or guests, no problem at all. We'll talk to whoever's left, and you can catch the rest of the event later on our YouTube channel, youtube.com at freedom of press. So let's get started. And I'll start with you, Sami, and thanks again so much for making time to be with us. But for people who aren't familiar with your case, can you tell us a bit about who you are and what you've been through over the last few weeks? And your counsel is here who can give us all the legal details, but we really appreciate the opportunity to hear from you firsthand.
Thank you very much. First and foremost, thank you to everybody who's here. Thank you for everybody. I can see the number of participants. Thank you for everybody who's given me the time here and for the opportunity to speak. I'm a journalist for about 15, 16 years and also a consultant for various different companies. And on this particular occasion, I'd been touring the United States for the past 3 years and other countries, Australia, countries in Europe. I know in America, for you guys, Europe is all one place, but I can assure you it's many different countries in one. But in any case, in any case, I had been touring and trying to analyze and push this phenomenon of the shift in public opinion through the use of people using social media and speaking out and using very democratic, legitimate forms, believing that the voice of the truth is greater than the voice of hatred, the voice of justice is stronger than the voice of injustice, and that ordinary people, the reason why perhaps they don't have an opinion on one of the most heinous crimes of our generation is because they don't know much about it, and therefore education will break the hold of this pro-genocide lobby. And therefore, while they need to spend millions in lobbying and the like, we don't need to spend anywhere near that kind of money because the truth of the matter will prevail in the end. 2 weeks prior to my arrest, an individual called Dinesh D'Souza online with 1.3 million followers on Twitter. I didn't know much about him prior to this. Found a clip of a lecture that I gave in Kuala Lumpur, in which in this particular clip I say, quote, because you all screamed on social media, you managed to break the algorithm, reach the Americans directly, and when they heard your voice of truth, their hearts flipped, and the hearts flipped in even the most unlikeliest of places, like the likes of Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, and these others. Dinesh D'Souza took this video clip and tweeted, if I remember the quote correctly, it was, Muslim Brotherhood jihadist operator celebrates the efforts of Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson in spreading Islam in America. Grok would respond and say nothing in this video even mentions anything related to spreading Islam. No proof is Muslim Brotherhood. This is Dinesh D'Souza talking about something clearly that's not related in the video. But an individual called Ted Cruz, a senator from Texas, retweeted it and it gained some prominence. And it reached the radar the following week of a lady called Laura Loomer. And Laura Loomer, on the Monday before I was arrested, she tweeted and said that there is an individual who is touring the United States. I'm abbreviating what she said, criticizing the Israelis. We need to get his visa removed and revoked. So I sent this particular tweet to some learned individuals who said that just keep an eye on it, but it's unlikely. This is a land of freedom of speech. The idea that Laura Loomer could somehow be the arbiter of who can say what in this country is a ludicrous notion. On the Wednesday, she tweeted and said, guys, I am in Congress. She put some Islamophobic tweet about the way that Muslims wash to prepare for prayer. And she tweeted after that, I have great news coming in 2 days about a certain individual currently touring the United States. And I knew that she was talking about me. In any case, I ignored it. On the Friday, I gave my talk in Bay Area. On Saturday, I gave my talk in Sacramento, in which I argued that the battle in America in the midterm elections is not Republican Democrat. It's America first versus Israel first. And I was alluding to the New York elections in Mamdani, in that Mamdani was facing off not against the Republicans, but against Chuck Schumer, Trump, Cuomo, Hakeem Jeffries, all of these lumped in one supporting Cuomo, versus Mamdani, who found the likes of Marjorie Taylor Greene and Tucker Carlson praising his America first policy of affordability and the like in New York. On the Sunday morning, I actually overslept on the Sunday morning. My flight was 7:30. I overslept 10 past 6. Somebody who was supposed to drive me to the airport had come to the hotel and was ringing me incessantly from the reception. May God forgive him. But in any case, I got up, went downstairs. I don't know how he got me to the airport in time. I arrived 45 minutes before takeoff 7:30 a.m. I arrived 6:45. I check in my luggage. I go through security. I'm wearing a fancy Malaysian batik that the Americans call the disco shirt because sometimes some people lack culture. But in any case, I looked up to see where gate D38 was for the flight to Tampa. As I'm looking up like this, somebody says, excuse me. And I look in front of me. There's somebody who's clearly been waiting for me. Are you Sami Hamdi? I said, yes. They said, sir, your visa was revoked 2 days ago. And so now you are here illegally. Do you understand what I'm saying? I said, no one told me my visa was under review. No one told me my visa was revoked. I'm a British citizen. what's this stuff about my visa being revoked? So he takes out a piece of paper, shows it to me, and he says, this is the memo from the State Department. And I'm reading it, and there is no reason stated on the paper. It just says, section this, article this, State Department has the right to revoke a visa. But there is no charge. There's nothing being said here. And at the bottom, it says, we command every officer to arrest this individual and detain him. So I asked the guy, I said to him, what's the reason for my arrest? Sir, they don't tell us that stuff. We were just told to wait for you and you have to come with us. So I said to him, well, if the case is about going home, I was supposed to, by the way, fly to Florida, then fly to New York, and then fly home. So I was supposed to be home in 4 or 5 days anyway. So I said to him, okay, in this case, there's 6 flights a day from SFO. I'll book my ticket to London now and then just go to the gate. That's not how this works, he said. And then 5 other agents appeared around me. So you're looking left, you're looking right. Well, this is my left, but you're looking left, you're looking right. There's all these people around you. So I thought I won't cause a commotion over here. Let me go with them, see where this goes. They escorted me out of the airport and I find a black car with tinted windows waiting for me. They said to me, sir, please get into the car. And I said to him, almost verbatim, with the greatest of respect, this feels like a movie. And I've seen this, where you throw somebody into a car, etc. I'm a British citizen with rights. I'm not getting into the car. I want to use my phone to call a lawyer, to call somebody who can advise me on my rights and what to do in this situation. They said, you're not allowed a phone call. I said, with the greatest of respect, I don't need to believe who you say you are, even if you have a fancy badge. I'm not moving from here until I call a lawyer or let somebody know what's happening to me. Otherwise, we can just stand here all day. So one of them says to me, you got 1 minute, in this very aggressive tone. So I thought in my mind, who do I call? Who do I call? Who do I call? Who do I call? And I thought, Hassan Ahmad from the Council of American Islamic Relations, Civil Liberties Organization. I messaged him. He replied 10 seconds, comply, but ask them where you're going. Excuse me, where am I going? Sir, just get in the car. At least tell me where I'm going. Sir, get in the car. Then I said, okay, let me call my family and let them know I'm okay. As soon as I finished the sentence, an agent from behind me grabs me, throws me against the car, handcuffs me from behind really tightly. Then they grab me and they throw me into the car. We drive for about half an hour to an ICE processing center. When we get there, they put me in a cell. They make me wait 2 hours. And then they come and they give me a piece of paper. And they tell me, sign this piece of paper. The paper says that I'm guilty of what I'm charged of. And I agree to the deportation order. I said, I haven't committed no crime. And I'm not, you shouldn't deport. My visa is still valid. It's until 2028. I have a 10-year B1, B2 visa that entitles me to visit the US for 6 months a year. They said, sir, if you sign this, we'll get you home. I said, I'm not signing it. When can I call my lawyer? You'll eventually get your call. Well, if you want me to sign it, let me see my lawyer first. It was a real back and forth. Eventually, I was still cuffed. They took me, they loaded me in the back of a van. And this is wild I expect it maybe in Tunisia where my father's from, but in America, this was a very surreal experience. The van looks big, but when they open the door in the back, you find the space that you're sitting in is 80 centimeters by 4 meters. So you're sitting cuffed with your hands and your legs and a chain around your body, sitting there, but they don't tell you where you're going. So I can't inform anybody. Where am I going? They don't tell you. 2 hours and a half in the back of a van with a small window the size of my head with some railings on it. I'm trying to remember California's geography. Which way are we going? I should have learned how the sun looks, north, south, east, west. I'll be sure to learn that from now on. But in any case, I'm looking outside. 2 hours and a half later, we arrive at a car park where there is like an In-N-Out burger shop nearby. They unload me off the van. Then they bundle me into another black car. And then we drive another 2 hours and a half until we eventually arrive in the McFarland facility. When we enter the McFarland facility, and I don't want to, take up too much time, everybody's time, but I'll try to make this as brief as possible. When we enter the facility, it's heavily guarded. First door, second door, third door, we go in. And in front of me in the corridor are 2 Indians and a Latino individual. So she's checking us in, the lady, one by one. She starts with the Latino. She says to the Latino, where are you from? And the Latino, as a joke, says, I'm from Afghanistan. And the lady says, oh, your people want to kill my people. And the Latino guy looks horrified and we're all looking, what's going on? So the Latino says, no kill anyone, no. And the lady goes, your people, they want to kill Americans. People in that area, they want to kill him. And I turn my head, excuse me, man. That's categorically not true. Like, really. And the Latino guy saying, I'm Mexican, Mexican, I'm not Afghan. Fine. It's a poor joke. Just to give you an insight into what I perceive to be the mentality of the guards who are going to be watching over us. Thankfully, she went for a lunch break. A man introduced me, or introduced me, but rather did the checking in process. After that, they took us into a hall. This hall had more than 95 people there in bunk beds, clearly overcrowded, not enough pillows, not enough blankets, and they leave you there. And all this time, I'm asking to speak to my lawyer at every occasion, and ICE, with an air of impunity, are saying, listen, excuse me, no, I'm talking. No, we'll tell you when you can call your lawyer. We'll tell you when you can have your phone call. Excuse me, now you're detained. Listen to me, you are in a very aggressive manner, as if I am a criminal, even though I'm supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. They take me to the bunk bed, and then eventually they say you got 5 minutes free calls on these payphones. I quickly call my wife, quickly call my lawyers and the like. The following day, so we had the meal, sweet corn with black spots on it, beans that tasted like they were taken 2 days after the expiry date, meat that smelled very off. I mean, I know American food can be a lot of chemicals in them, but this one was beyond anything that I had smelt before in the past. The following morning after the dinner, I woke up with an agonizing pain on my left side. And I felt like it was, like my kidney exploded. To lighten the mood a little bit, when two people visited me, I told them I pointed here. Like, I pointed here and I said, I thought my kidney burst. And they grinned. I said, guys, it's not a laughing matter. They told me, Sammy, your kidney's behind you, not in the front of you. But in any case, during the time, really, it was agonizing pain. Turn left, turn right, stand up, jump up and down. Is it trap gas? Walk around. What's going on? Excuse me, God. And now I'm panting. I'm feeling the pain. It's horrific pain. I say, can I see a doctor? We've let the medical team know. But when are they coming? They'll come when they come. 1 hour passes, 2 hour passes. The Indians in the unit came. We think we know what's wrong with you, but take this ibuprofen because you're going to go through a lot of pain in the next few days. By third or fourth hour, the guard is starting to show sympathy. They can clearly see I'm in agony, but they don't call the doctor. What they do is, she came up to me and she said, listen, the doctor's been here for the last 3 hours, but if you want them to come, drop on the floor right now. Otherwise, they're not coming. Like that. Drop on the floor right now. Otherwise, they're not coming. Instead of dropping on the floor, I called my wife. I said, let the media know. And then the doctors would come later on, very angry, clearly like somebody had shouted them or the like. But there's one more experience before, the legal team can talk about what happened in the courts and the federal courts, etc. But there's one more experience I want to talk about in that on the third night or second night, Mariam might be able to correct me on this, but I called the lawyers and I said, they're taking me to Fresno. So the guards came and said, Sammy, in the beginning, they're like, bunk four, bunk four. I said, I'm not a number. I'll wait till he says my name. Bunk four, Hamdi, Hamdi. Wait, Sammy. Okay, very good. Yes, get ready. You're going to Fresno. Inmates went, oh my God, you're going to Fresno. Going to Fresno now. At 9 p.m., they're telling you, get ready. Are you being transferred? Are they taking you to Texas? You don't want to go to Texas. Believe me, you don't want to go to Texas. You don't want to go Florida. You should call your lawyers now. Sammy, listen, Texas is way worse than what you have here in California. So I called the lawyers. Lawyers said, what's in Fresno? What's in Fresno? Or the like. I said, listen, I'm very worried. So they take me out. They cuff me very tightly. I assume everybody knows how ICE works, but it's all for-profit companies that's outsourced. G4S do the transportation, Geo look after the facilities, and what that results in is that nobody knows what the other is doing. You ask the Geo staff, where am I going? I don't know. G4S, what's happening? I don't know. The ICE person, I don't know. Nobody knows what's going on at any moment in time. So they cuff my legs very tightly and they load 15 of us onto a bus and they drive us for 1 hour and 45 minutes in a very cramped van. We arrive about midnight, quarter past midnight at this Fresno center. The irony is that on one of the tours, I had stayed in the Doubletree Hilton opposite this ICE facility, but I never realized it was an ICE facility. How this fortunes change. But in any case, When we arrived, there's no ICE officer there in the office. It's just the G4S guards. Excuse me, what's happening? You're spending the night in the cell. Now, the cell is 5 meters, I'd say, 5, 6 meters on this side, 5 meters maybe this side, and then it's triangular. 15 of us in this space. 15. They gave us out yoga mats, and they said, giving out yoga mats. In Texas, they don't give you yoga mats, and everybody's sleeping cramped. You know, the 15. But our legs are still cuffed, and my cuffs are still very tight. The next morning, about 9 a.m. in the morning, we don't have a time, and the lights, they stay on, the bright lights throughout the whole night. The next morning, you wake up, you can hear the ICE guards coming in laughing. Hey, good morning. How are you? You know, you got my coffee, you know, as if it's normal. So you knock on the door. Excuse me, please. My cuffs are tight. Get away from the door, sir. Get away from the door, sir. I'm going blue. You can see on my legs, it's going blue. Away from the door, sir. We sit there, then ICE, they open the door, they call you. Hamdi, you go first. Why am I here in Fresno? What's going on? They gave me a piece of paper. They told me your court date of November 6th has been changed to November 10th. Why has my court date been changed? And bear in mind, this happens to almost every inmate. This is ICE's tactic when they feel they're going to lose a case in front of the court. So why was it changed from November 6th to November 10th? Well, sir, on the original charge sheet, it says that you landed in Santa Ana, California, which is true. Okay? We've changed it to you were pre-cleared in Calgary. What difference does it make? It's such a minor detail. They're both true. Yes, but because we changed this, your court is delayed for 4 days. That's the way things operate here. By the way, would you like to sign the deportation and just go home right now? Literally like that. And I called Hassan at that time, who was my lawyer. That, oh, he just popped up on the screen. I called Hassan. I said, listen, I need to call my lawyer now. And they said, well, there's no way to call your lawyer. I said, give me your phone. I'll call my lawyer. And the guy went, okay, *61#. I don't know what that does to a phone. And then dialed in the number. And then Hassan told me, don't sign what they tell you to sign. They are not your friends, he said in a very strong American accent. In any case, after I was done, they put me back in the cell. And I remained there for the rest of the day until 10 p.m. at night. And then when they loaded me onto the van to take me back, one of the Latino guards looks at my legs and says, oh my goodness, they're going blue. And he loosens the cuffs a little bit. When I get back to the facility, the warden at this time, now the media has gone, you know, with the headlines, which I think is the reason why they loosened my cuffs. Because I entered back in the facility and the warden went, oh, the famous guy. The reason why I mentioned this story about Fresno in particular, I went to Fresno 3 times. It's a miserable experience. No one wants to go to Fresno. But the reason why the treatment improved slightly, not great, but slightly, was because of the media attention I had. The other inmates don't get that. And I just want to, before I hand over, I just want to give 2 stories about 2 particular inmates. There was a brother in Texas. He had his master hearing. Then he had that evidence hearing, I think, or wherever that second hearing is for. And he's 3 days away from his final hearing. ICE, 3 days before his final hearing, at midnight, they grab him from his bunk, they load him on a plane, and they ship him off to California. And now he's restarting from the master hearing again, because for some reason they can't present him in front of the Texas hearing in that regard. We had a Kyrgyz guy who the judge had ruled that his asylum application is recognized and he is to be released. The reason he remains detained is ICE, before he appears in front of a judge again for the release, ICE are trying to find a third country to deport him to and keep presenting him with a paper for him to be deported. A guy called Emmanuel from Texas, who was also relocated before his final hearing, when I said to him, but you've got the court order which says that you are to be released. You've got the judge, not the court order, but the judge says you should be released. He said, yes, but now apparently because they can't take me to Congo, they're now asking Ghana if they can send me to Ghana instead. What I realized with ICE, and this is the point I finish on, is that ICE are aware that the overwhelming majority of these cases won't win they will win in court. ICE will lose in the court. So they find all these bureaucratic loopholes to delay you appearing in front of those courts. And what I found in the detention center was it becomes a battle of wills. Who's going to blink first? ICE leave you in the detention center for as long as possible until an Uzbek 70-year-old man on the bunk next to me, who's been there for 1 year, 1 month, says, I know my case can win in court, but I don't want to stay here anymore. Just send me home. Just ship me home and get me out of this American country of yours. And in the words of one of the inmates, he said, we know they want us to blink, but as the days goes on, it gets harder to hold on. And that's why I think that ICE's attitude acts with impunity. But the reason I mentioned the media, and I promise this is where I finish, but the reason I mentioned the media is when finally, these magnificent lawyers of mine, Hassan, Mariam, and Layli, and Amina, and Zahra, and these others, when finally the deal had been made that I would go home, and DHS's lawyers pulled strings that some of the media attention can get in a way that other inmates don't get at all, and I'm aware of my privilege in that regard. When they were taking me to the airport for 2 hours and a half, they were telling me sob stories about how hard it is to ruin other people's lives. They were saying, we at ICE, we are misunderstood. And I said, I've been with you guys for 2 weeks. I swear to you, you are not misunderstood. In fact, I think media was very light on you, to be honest, based on what I've seen. They said, no, listen, we didn't want to treat you like a criminal. It's just for our safety. I told them, don't worry. I will tell the world everything about everything I saw and everything that I saw in these detention facilities. Don't you worry. The point here I'm making is this. The reason ICE acts with impunity is because a lot of media focus on people being detained, but they don't focus on the conditions in those facilities. They're not focusing on what the day-to-day is, how it grates on your mentality, how a Chechnyan 23-year-old who the court has recognized that he can't be deported because Russia will send him to fight in Ukraine and he doesn't want to fight in Ukraine. But because ICE won't put him in front of a court for his release, he's now on mental health pills and getting into regular altercations because the medication is affecting his mental health. You have a guy, Antonio. This is really just this. I'm taking this opportunity just in case somebody has an idea how to help these people. Antonio, in America, 18 years. Wife is a citizen. Kids are a citizen. And he was invited to a green card update your details meeting. No idea what it is, but they grabbed him at the appointment. Now, he's been there 9 months. He finally is about to have his final hearing. We're all helping him prep. He's writing his paper. Everybody's like, come on, Antonio, amigo, don't worry, you got this, whatever. He leaves and he comes back within half an hour. Antonio, how did it go? He said, the other side said they didn't have time to read the evidence. Judge said they didn't have time to read the evidence. And the judge went, let's postpone to January 29th. Another 3 months just added, just like that. The inmates used to say, I don't know why you pray, Sami. God doesn't exist between these walls, and neither does the law. And the way I treat the inmates, you can see it. There is a lady in the Texas facility, Liqa Kurdiya, and you have Marwan Maruf and these others, who, while they are being detained, their rights are being violated. Why? Because people don't talk about them in the way that they spoke about me in the facility. The guards felt it after the media came and did the headlines. It was almost as if, don't offend this guy. This guy might ruin us afterwards, like him. Which makes me wonder, they know what they're doing is illegal. They know that it's wrong. They know that if the American public finds out the realities of what's happening, ICE will be dismantled in an instant. That's my genuine opinion. And that's why I think in this regard, I know I threw a lot in terms of just random thoughts that I said over here, but I was aware of it's heartbreaking watching these inmates. We saw a headline that we're deporting criminals, ICE is deporting criminals, and we all looked around and said, well, who's the criminal here? No one is there. It's such a heartbreaking phenomenon. And what broke my heart was my wife said to me when I came home, she said, I know you're happy, but there's a sense of heartbreak on your face. I told her, Wallah, Sumaya, these people, they're a forgotten people and they don't deserve to be there. They do not deserve to be there. It's such a tragic injustice what ICE are doing to these people. And I think the reality is that the ICE officers know it. All it takes is for a concerted effort to put a spotlight on that. And my dream is that it gets dismantled for the atrocities that they're committing in these facilities.